with ideas for practicing sight words at home. All of our primary teachers have sight words as a part of the curriculum, and these words play a vital role in learning to read. What are sight words? Sight words don't follow a familiar phonics pattern and need to be memorized because they cannot be sounded out. They are words like come, they, or does. Sight words are sometimes referred to as high-frequency words. For teaching purposes, most teachers treat sight words and high-frequency words the same and use the terms interchangeably. Both types of words are consistently used in spoken and written language and constantly appear in books and other text. Once students learn to quickly recognize these types of words by sight, then reading comes much more easily. Some teachers put sight words on the wall for students to be able to access easily and call them word wall words. Sight words can be called Dolch or Fry words as well. Dolch and Fry words are just a specific set of sight words named for the people who developed the list. Snap words is another term because these words are meant to be read in a snap. Whatever we call them, we know that children become better at reading sight words automatically when they have daily opportunities to interact with them. How to practice at home. Learning sight words requires support at home, which means practice. As with any type of practice, it is important to make it as fun and as naturally occurring as possible. This presentation is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to options for practicing sight words at home. If you're looking for more ideas, they are just a quick internet search away. I'm pretty certain your child's teacher will also have some additional fun and creative ideas. I'm going to go through 3 main ways to practice sight words at home. In context. Using context means practicing the words in the context of other words, like in sentences and stories. Reading at home daily will naturally reinforce the learning of sight words in context. Multisensory. Multisensory learning is very effective. It is so important, especially with young children, to get their whole bodies and their senses involved in learning. Drills. You might associate drills and memorization with just using flashcards, but there are so many more interesting ways to memorize. The best and fastest way for children to learn sight words is within the context of a story that is read with them or to them. This is most effective when the sharing of books is done on a daily basis. When children are hearing, seeing, and connecting words to a text and its meaning, it can be very powerful. Sight words make up the majority of the words we read, so it only makes sense to expose them to these words through books. Easy readers like this one are fantastic sources of easier sight words. It is important to share the book so your child can see it. You can read at the same time, take turns, or your child can just listen if that is what is most appropriate. You should be able to release some of the responsibility for your reading as your child learns more words. Be sure to point to the words as you read them to help your child associate what you are saying, what they hear, and what they see. Some parents are worried that their child just memorized a book like this instead of having them read the words. Enjoying a book over and over is bound to lead to some memorization, and that is perfectly fine. It is a great opportunity for your child to read the book to you. Just be sure he or she is pointing to each of the words as they read it. You can always go back to individual words to see if your child can recognize them. Easy readers typically come in levels, with each level incorporating higher level sight words and more complex language. These are some more recognizable titles that have receptive text. When you read with your child, you'll notice that many receptive phrases contain sight words like I, a, at, am, and so on. Have fun emphasizing this repetition and encourage your child to chime in as you point to the sight words along with the book. Books that show text in a speech bubble are particularly useful for this because the text is concise and large, making it easy to point out sight words in each bubble as you read. Aside from sharing books with your child, another great way to use sight words in context is by making up your own sentences. This picture shows the whole sentence being written, which is a great way to practice spelling the sight word. If your child is not writing whole sentences yet, try having him or her come up with a sentence orally. That means by using their words. You can write it down and have them fill in the sight word. Your child then can go back and point to the words while they read their own sentence. This idea ensures that they understand how to use the word and reinforces recognizing and spelling the word in context. When your child has a bunch of words under his or her belt, lay them out in front of them and make up silly sentences. This works best when most of the words being used are easily recognizable. I would throw in a few that your child is still working on to reinforce those. This student created "Yellow is in his house." Multisensory learning involves using your senses and your whole body to learn. It has been proven time and time again to be very effective. I often encourage children to use their ears to listen to the word, eyes to look at the word, and their mouths to practice. At home, we use a variety of surfaces to feel the texture with our fingers while practicing words. Doing these types of things at home can be as easy as squirting some shaving cream on the table, then having your child write the sight word in that shaving cream. Other options include using sand, Play-Doh, or other materials that can be shaped into that word. It can even be easier by writing words on a dry erase board with a marker and erasing it with their finger. If you want to practice and you aren't around any supplies, it's simple enough to write the word in the air or with a finger on a table. Children are more likely to remember a sight word in their long-term memory when practicing it includes multisensory strategies. Here are some examples of setting up a scavenger hunt or hide and seek with some sight words. You can say to your child, "I hid 3 words in the kitchen, come read them and I'll rehide any you didn't know." Or, "Find 5 words hidden in your room." Just the act of looking in ridiculous places for these words will help your child remember them. They can find a word and chant the letters and the word all the way back to you. Once the words are all found and mastered, play a favorite song or let your child choose a favorite book to read together. A big part of these next few examples involve muscle memory for our minds. For these, the students are not relying on the print very much, just repeating the word and spelling the word over and over out loud. This is a form of studying that most adults have used. By repeating something over and over again, our memories are more inclined to kick in when they start the cycle. In these examples, though, the kids get to move their bodies as well. Here, you can see how the child is doing something as simple as running up the stairs while spelling and saying her word. Here is another example of moving your body and chanting the words. For each jumping jack your child completes, they can say the letters that spells out the word, or they can say the word itself. Slide and tap is something many students do at school to help them initially learn the words. They look at the word while they chant and move their bodies. This last example is for students to use a mirror to say and spell their words. Not only is it something interesting for them to look at, but keeps them from looking at the paper with the word on it. As an added bonus, have them spell the words on a steamy bathroom mirror after someone takes a hot shower. There are many times that the plain old memorizing through drills can be beneficial as well. Fortunately, not all drills need to be plain and boring. Drills are a great way to bring the printed word back into play and see how well your child retains what he or she has learned through the practice. In this example, the students are making or building the sight words. Write a word on a piece of paper. Cut the word apart. I added more letters to the mix so it wouldn't be as easy. And then have your child put the word back together and read it. You can do something similar with magnetic letter tiles on the fridge. You can name the letters out loud for your child to put them into the word order, like this: W, H, E, R, E. Once the word is put together, ask, "What does that say?" Your child would then respond with the answer of "where." You can ask your child to use a few words on their weekly list to build. Mix up the letters and build them again. Then maybe they read the words out loud 3 times. Okay. Here are the flashcards. Some kids really enjoy trying to increase their speed or racing against a family member to be the first to read the word. There are so many other things you can do with flashcards, and you certainly do not need to buy them. I recommend making your own so that you can control which words are in the pile. I'd focus on the list that your child's teacher provides. The following slides show a few ideas of what you can do with homemade flashcards. Using posters is a great way to track all the words that your child has learned and which word review. I would not use more than 20 to 25 words at a time. Store the words in a baggie and attach it to a piece of paper. As your child learns the words, meaning that they can read the word within a couple of seconds of seeing it without any help from you or another, any words that need review, you then go back into the bag. Once the words are all glued on, start with a new set of words. This is a popular game called Pop. Some kids may know this game as Kaboom. Place no more than 25 words written on a piece of paper into a jar or a container. Add a few cards that say the word pop or kaboom. Take turns picking out words from the container without looking. If you can read the word, you hold on to it. If you cannot read the word easily, it goes back into the container. If you pick pop, all of the words that you've collected go back into the container and that you continue to play. This is an adaptation of a popular card game. In Go Fish, you need 2 sets of words, shuffle, pass out 5 to each player, and the rest go into the pond in the middle. Each player tries to make a match by asking the other person if they have that word. For example, do you have the word we? If the player doesn't have the word, then they say go fish, and the first player picks a card from the middle. Then it becomes the next person's turn. If the player does have the card, then they give them the word we. Again, this game is just like a memory game with pictures that we're used to. You need 2 sets of words, and they should be set up face down. Each player takes a turn flipping over 2 cards. Each word that the student turns over needs to be read out loud. If the words match, the player gets to keep them. If the words do not match, they turn the words back over, and it's the next player's turn. The most important thing to remember when practicing sight words at home is to make it fun and make it frequent. Mix it up and use different methods to practice so your child doesn't get bored. Be sure to pay close attention to any words that are assigned by the teacher so that you can make sure that those words are in the practice. Ask your child's teacher for a comprehensive list to have at home. I'm sure the teachers would love to hear how your child is practicing, and maybe he or she can demonstrate for their class.